maybe you should do assigned to budget and capital improvements? Or
30 by Verizon time. Does that mean we're ready to go?
Ready to go.
Okay.
IT didn't exist at that point, though.
No, I know, but I'm saying now.
I want to call to order the April 6, 2022 meeting of the Municipal Building Commission at 5:30 p.m. And because we have one member at least, I can see Andrew, who is remote. Jeremy, I think we need to go through the rigmarole of calling the roll.
Yes. All right. So Terry,
Here.
Ed, no Ed. Jackie,
Here.
Gail, no Gail. Jerry,
Yeah.
Mike, no Mike. Andrew,
Here.
Jay,
Here.
and Jack.
Here, we have a quorum. Since we love roll calls, we should also approve the minutes from March 2nd and March 30th, which were emailed to you. Jay, I think you probably can't vote on that since you weren't a member at the time. You'll be able to vote on these minutes at the next meeting. So are there any questions or comments? Is there a motion, Jackie?
Move to approve. Second.
Thank you. Jeremy?
Terry,
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yeah.
Andrew,
Yes. Yes.
Jay, as we said, will abstain for you, and Jack.
Yes, motion passes unanimously. As always, we're going to skip over the bills for now. And Mark, what would you like to talk to us about tonight?
Well, two projects. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Members of the Municipal Building Commission, I appreciate the opportunity. We're going to talk about two items tonight. The fire department roofs. As reported at the March 30th meeting, we achieved substantial completion on March 9th. At the last meeting, I told you that I was working feverishly in an attempt to get a date from the roofing contractor, Gibson, for the inspection by the roofing material manufacturer. I now have that date. It's next Thursday, the 14th of April, and both Arno and the complete team at CBI Socotec, as well as myself, will be on site to walk and talk through with the manufacturer, answer any questions, and for Arno and his team to do all their final inspections. It's my hope that after that 414 inspection by the roofing manufacturer, we can then obtain our warranty and the contractor can submit all their O&Ms, and hopefully we can close out the roofing project for the end of this month. Currently, I know you're not doing bills now, but informationally, they did submit requisition number 2 for the period ending March 31st. It's for just over $48,000, which leaves a balance of $28,000 in change for all of the final completion, closeout, paperwork, and warranty items. So that's my report on the fire department roofs, which are the headquarters in the Briggs Corner. If you have any questions, I'll.
So are you
entertain them.
recommending we pay that requisition?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I did sign the warrant, and I believe Jeremy has that within his packet.
And also the bill for CBI Socotec, are you recommending we pay that?
I have to apologize, I don't recall having seen that. Jeremy, did you forward that to me?
I can't recall either. So it's for $16,105. It's dated 1/31/22. I will say Socotec. So that's for December related work. We hadn't got any invoice from them since their November related work, so they've been behind in billing. So we should expect some stuff coming forward. But I will forward to Mark when I get back to my office, so we can say pending his review if you'd like.
Yeah, we could act on it pending your review, Mark. And
Thank
our
you.
May meeting is May 4th, so are you optimistic that we will be able to close out this project at that time?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to give you a qualified yes again, as I did in February and I did in March. I believe so. I know the work is complete. We just need the contractor to complete the paperwork and to submit it, have CBI Socotec review it, and make sure that we are following all the closeout procedures and protocols as identified within the contract documents. But yes, I'm hopeful that we can. If nothing else, obviously, the fire department has full, complete use of the roofs and access to their buildings. So this is just a minor administrative closeout. So I'm hopeful, but cautiously optimistic.
Okay, do we have any paperwork for the March 9th substantial completion date?
Yes, Jeremy has the signed certificate of substantial completion signed by both Gibson Roofing as well as CBI Socotec.
Yep, and the mayor signed that, and we sent it back to Gibson, so they have it.
Okay, for the record, though, we should have taken a vote.
We did at the March 6th
did?
meeting or whatever
Oh.
it was. Yeah.
All right. It's tough to get old and senile. Thank you, Jeremy.
Of course.
So we don't need to take a vote, we already did. Good. Does anybody have any other questions on the fire roofs?
No.
Okay. Then do you want to move on to the elementary school gym floors, Mark?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. So during this past week, since our March 30th meeting, in which the MVC voted to approve FJ Roberts as the selected vendor, rejecting the other bid received, a notice of award has been issued by the city. It has been signed by the contractor, and the AIA contract has also been forwarded, and to the best of my knowledge has been signed and is in process, both with the solicitor and or awaiting the mayor's signature. So with the notice of award and the contractor signing the contract, they are proceeding at risk to develop submittals and to submit color and pattern samples on the flooring itself. And CBI Socotec, the architect on that project as well, is developing the camera-ready or vector artwork for the logos with using photographs provided by the school department and the principals of each of the two schools. And lastly, I sent an email to the contractor today asking them if we could come up with a mutual date to have a kickoff meeting where we could review all the processes, protocols, and procedures for working on the project this summer. As you know, this is what we call a summer slammer. The work needs to be done while the kids are out of school, And we have the dates, and we forwarded it to the contractor. They were written into the contract as well as the contract documents as to the date range between, I think it was June 19th and June 25th and August 19th, where the work in the field could actually be performed. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to entertain them.
We have two bills from CBI Socotec. Did you have a chance to look at those?
Well, I was too busy talking. Let me look at them right now.
So I failed to forward them to Mark, so after the first comment, I sent them to him a couple minutes ago. So
Okay. And then, just so everyone knows, the apparent low bidder, who we disqualified, and rightfully so, they have not filed a bid protest, correct?
correct. So we informed, Arno drafted a letter, Arno from Socotec drafted a letter informing them. I put it on my letterhead and signed it and sent it over to them. FJ Roberts, who had indicated their intent to file a bid protest if we were to award it to JC.
They contacted Deb Anderson.
They
right?
contacted Deb Anderson at the Inspector General. So then I had them walk that back, and their attorney sent another letter to say, just kidding. So we're good. We're good with them. And I've talked with the owner, and he was a bit sheepish about. He's like, they were a little quick to send that. The attorneys were. He apologized about it. So I think we're on a good footing now.
Blame the lawyers.
Yeah.
It's the easiest way out.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I've just looked at the two invoices, and I am comfortable in sending Jeremy a letter indicating my assent to the CBI Socotec invoices submitted.
Okay. I think an email's good enough.
Will do.
Okay. So does anybody have any questions on that project?
Andrew, I just want to point something out that we talked about and you brought up last week about unit prices and kind of how they cut both ways. So if you had looked at the Gibson application, you'll see there's a deduct change order for 16998. There were fewer quantities of I think it was blocking that was needed, so we were able to take off quantities of the base bid via their unit price. So you can kind of see if their unit price was higher for those, their base bid may have been higher, but we would have got a bigger credit. And if their unit price was lower, we would have got a smaller credit. So that's that double-edged sword that Jack was talking about last week with unit prices and change orders.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Of course.
All right. Then is there anything else that we need Mark for?
I think we're good.
All right. May 4th, Mark?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. And
Yep. Thank you. I appreciate it, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Jeremy, do you want to give everybody an update on the Attleboro Pawtucket Water Interconnect? For those who don't know, Jay may be one of them, we have gotten various permissions, not only by contract with the city of Pawtucket, but also the state DEP has approved to create an emergency connection to the Pawtucket water supply system. So in the event of a disaster, whether natural or man-made, took out our water treatment plant or took out Luther Dam or took out one of our water towers, that we would be able to supply water to the city on an emergency basis by buying it from Pawtucket. We hired CDM Smith to design it. We won't say much more about CDM Smith publicly, but the person who was the problem has retired, so that's good. So that project at long last is ready to go out to bid. So Jeremy, you want to take it away from there?
Yeah, so I started with the city 2 years ago, and at that point, people were already exhausted with how long this project has taken.
It was proposed by Kevin Dumas.
Yeah. So we have approval from the Massachusetts DEP. I sent out a memo that Courtney Allen, our water superintendent, had authored last week, laying out 7 points from the DEP that were all very typical in terms of a project like this, and 2 that she deemed atypical but not insurmountable or even really difficult. So we have our our water purchase agreement with the Pawtucket Water Supply Board. We have our permitting from Mass DEP, and now we have some dates from CDM Smith. And now we're working with 2 folks. The gentleman who retired, working with his boss, Dave Polcari, and then Matthew Pitta, who I've worked with on a number of projects in the wastewater department. Both have been great to work with so far. So I was emailed over the plans and the specs earlier today. We advertised in the Central Register for next week. So contract documents will be available on April 13th. Filed subbids will be due May 16th, and GC bids will be due May 23rd. I still have a little concern about a budget having been set in the Dumas administration being applicable to a 2022 project. We have a healthy near 30% contingency, but I'm skeptical that we have enough in the fund to be able to fund this ultimate project. So it's concerns I've expressed to the water department and our engineer. They'll get back to me shortly. We have some other funds available, of course, but within the bond authorization, we're running close to our limit.
So would we potentially have a problem with accepting a bid if the bids are too high?
Everything's subject to funding. So we have a healthy water retained earnings position. We have some other capital projects we can close out with similar useful life. So depending on the level of disconnect, we would have a number of options available to us, but they wouldn't be immediate.
Would we need a vote of the city council, is what I was trying to get at.
Yes, for any of those options,
So the mayor might have to send an emergency motion down,
yes.
which
So-
they generally don't like, but
Right. So I'm waiting, sometime we put in the estimated construction cost into the central register, and oftentimes that includes a number of contingencies and soft costs and conservative nature that doesn't come to bear. But I've expressed this a couple of months ago to Courtney, and I believe this committee that, like I said, a budget set 6 years ago may not be totally applicable today. So we'll see where they come in. We'll have a better sense this time next month. And I'm going to have a conversation with the engineer. But we do have options available to us.
okay, so the filed subbids, did you say, are they the 16th?
May 16th, yep.
And then the general bids?
On May 23rd, 1 week later.
That's a sufficient period of time.
Yeah, CDM Smith had given us the option of 5 or 6 weeks. Due to the specificity of this project and the fact that there are filed subbids, I opted to say let's give them an extra week. Maybe people can sharpen their pencils. And a week at this point in this project, I thought we could spare it.
Yeah, not significant, I understand. So do we, when the filed subbids come in, do we need to take any action? Do we need to have a meeting? Or do we simply wait until June 1st, which would be our June meeting, to act on a recommendation for bids? Because that would give them a week to qualify the apparent low bidder, right?
Right. So we wouldn't award the filed subbids ahead of awarding a GC
No,
bid.
because I understand those would be how the bid is built for the
Correct.
general. Again, you may not know this, but for certain trades, and there's about 16 of them, things like plumbing and masonry and electrical, they are, in order to create what's considered to be a level playing field, those bids, all of the electricians who are interested put in their filed subbids before the general bid. The general bidder then does not have to choose the lowest filed subbidder. You can choose anyone, but the problem is if you don't choose the lowest filed subbidder, you're not likely to be the lowest general bidder. And we accept the lowest eligible and responsible general bidder. And so what it means is that for every project, there is no team. It's a team put together based on lowest bidders, and the general has no control over over that. But certain filed sub-bidders can exclude general bidders that they don't want to work for, and they can limit it. For instance, there are some companies that are qualified as masons, but also qualified as general contractors, so they can put in a bid for filed sub-bid for masonry and say, I'm limiting it to myself. So it's an interesting process. It's subject to a great deal of criticism, but it is what it is. It's state law, so we follow it. If Jerry was building something, he'd want to use the electrician that he uses on every job and he knows and trusts.
Exactly.
But unfortunately, it's not the way it works in public contracting. So there would be nothing we would need to do to sort out bid protests or anything like that. So June 1st would be, what happens when the general bids come in is that our architect or engineer in this case would then look at all of them, make sure they're qualified, check their references, check that all of the documents they filed with the state were accurate and up to date, and then make a recommendation to us, and then we make a recommendation to the mayor as to awarding a contract.
Right. So from the 23rd is a Monday, so that following Wednesday should give CDM sufficient time to vet.
So May 1st is when we would make a recommendation.
June.
June 1st is when we would make a recommendation to the mayor. The contract would get executed a few weeks after that. And do we remember what our projected timeline is for construction?
I don't.
I thought it was about 18 months.
Yeah, and most of it is, what I do recall is most of it is not on-site. It's kind of a prefab.
It's a prefab pumping station that gets delivered, right?
And then tied in, yeah. So there is, of course, work tying everything in, and sorting the chemical room and wiring the electric and putting the fence and doing the site work. But a lion's share of the work is done off-site.
Yeah, so they got site work to do to prepare the pad.
Yeah, and the parking space, the gravel, the grass, the fence, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So we will be overseeing that project over the course of the next 20 months or so, from the time we get bids until that project is done. And then I guess that's probably about all we need to say on that project.
Yeah, we have appreciable progress, and we will have some decisions to make going forward.
And then in terms of our meetings, have we developed a timeline for the RFQ for the public safety building?
So that will be on the street in April. I am commenting on that publicly. So we will finish that and have that out in April.
And then how long would we give them to respond?
I think 3 weeks is probably sufficient.
Okay.
I will ask our purchasing assistant, Cal Brown, 3 or 4 weeks, but I think.
So at our May 4th, was that the date? At our May 4th meeting, we might have bids in hand, and we could spend some time then ranking them, deciding who to interview. Would that be a reasonable way to look at it? Again, Jay, just so you know what we're talking about here. When we hire a professional, a design professional, whether it be an architect or an engineer, depending on what's needed, we have to do a quality-based analysis. It's not price-based as it is with the person who constructs things. So therefore, we put out on the street a request for proposals for their qualifications. They then submit books to us with all the similar projects they've done and the other factors that are in the RFQ. And then we have to go through all of them and rank what we think are the top 3 or 4 at a public meeting. We then probably schedule a special meeting sometime further into May in order to interview those top 3 firms. And again, after the interviews, we rank them. And then we get to negotiate a contract with the highest ranked firm in our analysis. If we are unable, we can go to the second one or the third one, but rarely have we been unable to come to a contractual arrangement with a firm. We have a budget for this, Jeremy, which is,
$200,000.
yeah, and so hopefully it'll be less than that, but that is the process that we would follow. So I think it is likely that we will have a special meeting in the middle of May devoted solely to interviewing the professionals who we have ranked highest of those who bid. And sometimes we get 10, 15 proposals. I would think this project would be one that would attract a lot of interest from architectural firms. Yes, Terry?
Is it possible that we can go visit a neighboring city or town that has a public safety set up already? So when we go through the process, we kind of have an idea.
Well, I think there's 2 different things I'm hearing there. One is that we want to make sure we check references.
Yes.
But I think the second thing is that during the feasibility study itself, I think taking a road trip is a good idea.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't know if you remember, were you on when we did the animal shelter?
Yeah, we went to the,
We took a road trip to
Yeah.
see somebody else's animal shelter,
we saw a couple of them.
a couple of them. And so.
I just think it would help through the process of picking, the group for the RFQ.
Yeah, I mean, for instance, Mansfield just opened one. I
Yeah.
think Plainville just opened one. So
Either one.
certainly if the people who bid are people who did those buildings, as part of the reference check, we could certainly arrange to take a look at the quality of the work that was done. It's a lot better than looking at pictures in a book. So I think that's a good idea to keep in mind.
There's a lot of them that opened. Cumberland just opened one. North Providence just opened one.
Mm-hmm. Somebody's phone ringing. Yeah, I think that's a good idea, that we should keep that in mind. Again, this will probably be a short meeting because we don't have a whole lot of other things to do. We're hopeful that at some point we get the ability to do a feasibility study for a council on aging that's still tied up in the council committee. And I guess we should pay the bills. So we have bills from Port Construction for the gym flooring and the fire roofs. Jeremy, are those in order to pay?
They are.
And we already have a recommendation from Mark as to the Gibson roofing bill and 3 bills from Socotec. So is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
Is there any discussion? If not,
And that one is pending Mark's review?
He did.
he already did.
Yeah.
Okay.
He did it while I was yakking to give him some time to take a look at it.
Okay, so, yes, move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Jeremy, do you want to call the roll?
Terry,
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Andrew,
Muted.
I think I saw
You can
him.
give us a thumbs up.
Yes.
Okay.
Jay
Yes.
and Jack.
Yes, so that passes unanimously. So I think that that should probably get us to a motion to adjourn, unless anybody has anything else they want to bring up? Okay. And the motion to adjourn at 5:58 would be in order, Jackie.
So moved.
Second.
Jeremy?
Terry,
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
and Jack.
Yes, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Is it earlier than I left you?